I'm Ben Silverio.
And I'm Ansel Burch.
And it's time to party.
We are not doctors. We don't give medical advice. Please drink responsibly. This special episode was recorded on January 15th, 2024.
Welcome.
I don't know why I said it was a special episode.
On this very special episode of Time to Party,
we're gonna learn about life after death.
Oh.
And after death, and after death, and after death.
So many deaths.
So many.
Welcome back, party people. Thank you for joining us for another exciting edition of Time to Party, where the points don't matter, everything's made up, and I blatantly stole that from Drew Carey.
I actually don't think you stole that from Drew Carey. I think you stole that from whoever the British guy was that started that.
Oh, true.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember his name?
I don't.
I mean, at least I said Drew Carey.
But I'm gonna find out.
Yeah, right. Look at that. We have the internet.
I just trust that I will find out. Who were you worried about saying?
Oh, Aisha Tyler.
Oh,
because she was.
Are we mad at Aisha Tyler?
I mean, I'm not mad about it. I was just.
Oh, okay.
She's the most recent one.
Yeah, she is. She is. And I would argue one of the best. She's
absolutely.
incredible.
Aisha Tyler, so good at everything, really.
Truly.
Lana. Oh, man. Archer's coming to an end this year.
A lot of things are coming to an end this year.
Oh, that's sad.
I know, right?
Ugh. How about things stop, ending? Like jobs and TV shows and, journalism.
Just remember, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end.
Oh, jeez.
Clive Anderson, by the way, is the original
Clive
host.
Anderson. Yes, I would not have gotten that in a million years. And I've watched that show.
I think the problem is that we're not English, so we don't have any other context for Clive Anderson outside of Whose Line.
I feel like British game show hosts, I feel like Clive is a pretty good guess of what their name is. There's got to be a lot of Clives who host shows in the UK.
Seems likely, yeah.
Have you ever met a Clive? Do you know a Clive?
I don't think I do. Maybe it's a name that's entirely reserved for TV personalities.
Ah, right. Now I'm on the lookout for Clives.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, they'd be over in the UK, not here, right?
Clive Owen, Clive. That's literally the only one I can think of.
Clive Barker.
Clive Barker, that's right.
There's got to be other famous
There's a
Clives.
record producer named Clive Davis.
Oh, yeah, right. He's probably here in LA. Is he still living? I remember talking about him in high school, grade school.
Yeah, this whole list of other Clives, none of them ring a bell.
I love how your Google search history is Sean Connery in a mankini and famous Clives.
Yeah, take that, FBI.
I hope Tab walks in at some point and she's like, mankini?
Well, full disclosure, the soundproofing in my office is bad enough that she is actually chatting me from the other room. I showed you the TikTok about James Bond.
That's glorious. Hi, Tab. I mean, no, she can't hear me because you have headphones on, but...
Yeah, no. I'll tell her you said hi.
Awesome. Well, before we go and do that, we got a movie to talk about.
We do.
Yes.
An exciting movie. A a movie so good they had to make sure everybody could understand what the hell the name of the movie even was.
Right? Because it went by like two different things, but it's also based on another thing that's titled something completely different. But we're going to call it Edge of Tomorrow. But it's also known as Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow.
Yes.
It's based on the book All You Need Is Kill, which was also a graphic novel. But if you don't know what we're talking about, our good friends at IMDb describe the movie like this. A soldier fighting aliens gets to relive the same day over and over again, the day restarting every time he dies. So basically, it's a fucked up Groundhog Day.
Mm-hmm. It's Groundhog Day with
Lots of guns.
Intense stakes.
Oh, yeah. That
and
too.
Guns, yes.
Yeah.
I like that early on, the established thing from Emily Blunt's character is you have to make sure you die. Like, okay.
I guess.
The stakes, they are high. All right.
It's true, yeah. And, you know, like Groundhog Day, it's actually a lot funnier than you think it's going to be. Well, in Groundhog Day's case, it's a lot darker than you think it's going to be. So really, Edge of Tomorrow is like the other way around.
Yeah, the two of them kind of like start at polar opposites and meet in the middle at points. It doesn't stay there.
No, that's true. As I mentioned in the last episode, I read an interview where someone described Tom Cruise's character's demise as like a Wile E. Coyote type of situation happening to him. Because while, you know, these deaths do get gruesome, they are kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. Some of them, yeah. Especially all the ones towards the middle where he just sort of sighs before it happens. It's like,
he's like, oh, great.
What a training montage.
Oh, man. Yes. And, you know, I want to say this up top. I really like this movie. Like, I'm not really one to seek out like Tom Cruise's typical action movie stuff. Mm-hmm. But like this had a fun enough twist with like a script that ended up being, you know, fairly straightforward for as confusing as it kind of was.
At least as confusing as it could have been.
Exactly, as it could have been, yeah. But yeah, I remember really liking this movie, and I was really excited when they started talking about a sequel, and then none of that happened. Oh. Well, because part of it was, you know, Tom Cruise is busy, and then they really started to talk about it around 2019, and so when the pandemic happened, things like pushed back a lot. But good news, there is talk about a sequel again, because Emily Blunt has been saying how she would totally do it. And now that Tom Cruise has a deal over I believe Warner Brothers, because he signed some sort of deal with the studio recently, and one of the things that they were talking about was a sequel to this movie. So things are in the works again, and it totally was Warner Brothers. Yes. Gotcha. So, you know, as long as Zaslav doesn't completely shit the bed again, we may get this. Because at one point there was supposed to be a TV show developed as a spin-off for this in 22, but that hasn't really materialized yet.
I could see that really making sense too.
Yeah, because, you know, like there's a lot of possibility for spin-off, right? Like, I mean, J Squad has a lot of backstory. If you remember the bit about, oh my God, what's his name? I was going to call him Firestorm because that's who he is on the CW. Franz Drama, yeah. He was Ford. They talk about how he is not really Ford. Ford is his fellow soldier name, who died on the first day, and so he took his name to send money back to Ford's family.
Which man, what a hell of a thing to just throw in as like a, oh yeah, here's a thing we didn't talk about before that this guy just happens to know.
Exactly, right? Like you got glimpses of everyone's backstory because of Cage just doing things over and over again and just like randomly asking questions.
Mm-hmm. I am a little sad we didn't see any of the rounds where he did that. He was clearly just mining people for information.
At what point do you think he resets? Like, do you think after he's having that conversation, he just pulls out the gun and is just like in
Maybe,
front of the
yeah,
person?
like what do you what? Yeah, how do you go about that? And at what point in the like process do you go, okay, I've done as much combat training as I possibly can. Now it's time for me to do some research on people in case I need to convince them to help me later. Yeah,
I imagine it's that sequence from Groundhog Day where he's just, doing all that stuff over and over again.
Yeah, probably.
But we did kind of get that sequence here too.
How so?
I mean, like, it was more so the training montage, but like, what a great montage.
Yeah. We got the training montage. We did get to see him periodically, like, get outside of the training cycle. Like when he averted the fight with the two guys in the alley.
Yep.
Granted, that one was not the first time. He'd clearly been through that situation before. But it established how he sort of like asks questions naturally as part of his conversation style.
Well, here is a question that I had going into this, because I had seen this movie before when I rewatched it, but this time around I really like thought about this fact. Wouldn't it be a liability for Cage to enter the battlefield without any knowledge of how to use any of the equipment?
That is my big question for the whole thing. And when I was first thinking about Brendan Gleeson, and I thought back to like, oh, it's too bad that Brendan Gleeson didn't get more to do. The other thing that came up for me was like, how did Brendan Gleeson motivate that choice? Like, okay, guy who doesn't know anything, I'm going to strap a very expensive looking piece of machinery to you that you do not know how to use, that you're certainly going to die in for why? Like, did he kick Brendan Gleeson's kid's puppy, or
right?
Like what happened?
The only reason basically was that that Major Cage was disobeying a direct order, because he didn't want to go over with the first wave. And it's just like, well, for one,
but what motivates that direct order? Like, that's my question. It's like, why would you want Cage in that thing in the first place?
Yes. No. So the whole thing was that Cage was a PR guy. Basically, He was running a PR company, and like he was doing all of the motivating to get people to sign up, right? And I guess Gleason wanted more soldiers, right? So he wanted to send like a camera crew led by Cage, but when Cage didn't want to do it, and I feel like rightfully so, right? Like, why would you send that guy over? Gleason was probably just like, oh, this dick.
Do you think that was the thing? Was like originally there would have been a camera crew with him, but it sort of devolved? Because I got the impression that Gleason's character, that was his plan from the start, was like, Cage is a piece of shit, and you know what? I don't need to deal with this guy. I'm just going to put him in a mech suit and let him die on the front.
Oh no, like I'm pretty sure that the whole motivation was because like Gleason wanted Cage to shoot more propaganda, like that could accompany him on those like talking head shows,
but when Cage was like, nah, he escalated from there.
The last straw was the blackmail, because Cage tried to blackmail his commanding officer. So those military types, not too fond of blackmail. Which is a bad
move. Yeah.
No. Oh, no. Yeah. Not a great move.
Weirdly not into it.
Yeah. But it's just like the fact that you would throw him in just to die is one thing, but he could kill a number of people before he dies if he doesn't know how to use the stuff. But then I guess that leads in. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, and it does seem like a huge waste of resources, not just in Cage, who is himself a resource. Like, those are skills that you're not going to get in somebody else. But also just like, that's a mech suit that another person could have been using, and a seat in that dropship that somebody else could have been using, and ammo that somebody else could have been using.
Hold on, Ansel. Are you saying that the military would actually use would actually, not consider the resources and use them improperly?
They wouldn't. That's what makes it so implausible.
Oh man. I we said it in the first episode, but ceasefire, please, immediately.
Please. For crying out loud.
Yeah, right? Like, God. But that kind of brings us over to the time travel mechanism now, because it happens because he's over there and fighting when he shouldn't be. And so the way that this is explained is that the mimics, which are the alien invaders in this case, one of the alpha mimics like basically bled into Tom Cruise and got mixed up into his bloodstream. And because of that, he was then inserted into their whole like hive that was able to time travel for some reason.
That's the theory.
Yeah, that's wild. It's just
like pretty mind-boggling.
Yeah, because it's just like, oh, hey, how does the time travel work in this movie? Oh, blood.
I will say it does feed into a sort of meta-narrative about fate. And it's called out at the beginning. Farrell says, and what is my definitive position on the concept of fate? And all of the soldiers know the line, through readiness and discipline, we are masters of our fate, which is that is exactly what Tom Cruise's character has to go through. He has to discipline himself. He has to prepare himself. And only through that can he be master of this situation he finds himself in. But the fact that they choose fate as the word that is the linchpin there suggests to me that we are supposed to think of this as a thing that is fated to happen.
Yeah, that is a good point about the thesis statement of this movie, because any good sci-fi really turns a mirror to its audience, right? And so that's a good message to put out, right? Like, be prepared. But yeah, that's interesting. And something I clearly did not consider. But
they nailed it home hard enough early in the film that I was like, okay, clearly that's just a really good line that the scriptwriter was like, no, that has to be in the movie. Do not take that out. Or that's the thesis. It's one of the two. And I've written scripts where I came up with a cool turn of phrase that I insisted on making it in there. So I sympathize with both options.
Absolutely. I think it was happening so early in the film where I was enjoying Tom Cruise being the damsel in distress.
I did put in my notes, it's fun to see Tom Cruise play absolute terror.
Yeah, definitely. Like the cowardice just seeping from his pores, literally, because he was sweating the entire time on that transport.
Right?
And he's just like, where's the safety?
That was such a great bit.
And they still didn't really answer it.
Never told him. He had to figure it out on his own.
He was just button mashing.
Managed to set the whole thing to Chinese or something. And
yeah, but video games were definitely a huge inspiration for this whole story.
Oh, for sure. I mean, who hasn't done that exact thing in a video game where it's okay, well, I died that time, so I know I'm not going to try and jump over that pit. I got to find okay, there's that thing floating over, so I'm going to jump to that, and then I'm going to go to the other side of
Oh, yeah.
That's absolutely what this was. If that wasn't the inspiration, then I will be very impressed.
Yeah. But it borrows from video games in a way that wasn't so corny, like it wasn't so uh heavy-handed, I guess you could say, as something like Pixels, you
Oh,
know?
sure.
But
Sure.
like obviously Pixels and Rampage are like those movies where it's like, yes, obviously this is the video game adaptation. But like this kind of takes a more nuanced approach to it, in a way that kind of makes the time loop fresh again.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, like we've talked
I
about a number of time loop movies on this podcast already, right? And there's just so many that like the time loop is like a old reliable trope, but Edge of Tomorrow manages to make it fresh and fun again.
Yeah. Well, and I think the thing that I really appreciate about a time loop, and this one especially, is the lack of control.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for time travelers to seem like they ought to have more answers, because they could just do the day over or go back a little bit earlier and do it right, or whatever the process that's available within their fiction is. Whereas a time loop, they are completely out of control, they have no agency, and they're just sort of falling through this with the audience. So it becomes more about, okay, what are the choices you make when you're stuck, as opposed to what are the choices you make when you have all the possibility in the universe.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Emily Blunt totally and deservedly is at the center of this. And I love it.
Absolutely.
What a great action hero.
Truly. She's so cool.
She's
That
so
scene
cool.
where you first see her come out of the crashed ship, and they
Mhm.
do that pan up from below, and she's got the like helicopter blade sword situation
Yeah.
going on. God damn,
I
what a
mean,
cool intro.
taking a sword into a gunfight is a boss move.
So boss. Yeah. What a baller.
Oh my god. And what do they call her?
The Angel of Verdun.
No, the other one.
Full Metal Bitch,
The Full Metal Bitch. That's what it is.
which is apparently one she does not like.
Sure, yes. Um as we see someone get socked for it. But I mean, like, why isn't she doing more of these kinds of roles? Like, I know she was in Jungle Cruise, and there was another one where I think she had more of an uh actiony vibe. Oh yeah, Mary Poppins Returns. No.
that backflip she does. It's just,
Oh yeah. No, you know what?
I didn't get to see the Adjustment Bureau. Did she get actiony in that one?
I don't remember that movie like at all, and I'm fairly certain I saw it. But I do want to say that I feel like I'm one of the few people who actually did really like Mary Poppins Returns.
It was nice.
It was
I didn't
really
love it,
nice.
but it was
Like,
nice.
I mean, it basically copied beat for beat the original.
Yeah.
But like, I thought it was still nice. A couple of the songs were really catchy and like a lot of fun.
Yeah, Lin-Manuel is delightful.
Right.
Can't do too wrong with him. Emily
And
Blunt
the kids,
is incredible.
The kids were also really good.
Which I will say, I usually hate any film with children in it. I have a very hard time with child actors. But that one, they were good kids.
Yeah, and it could get taxing to see kids that had to grow up too quickly, that have to act like adults. But I think these kids really nailed it.
Yeah, they did a good job.
But just Emily Blunt capturing the whole essence of Mary Poppins. I don't think she gets enough praise for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
I'm a little sad that they didn't serialize it. It would be cool to see more adventures with Mary Poppins now that they've established a new Mary Poppins for this new generation.
Mm-hmm.
Great. If that's where you're going, do it. Give us more Mary Poppins adventures that aren't just a rehash of the original.
Right. Like that's perfect for like a limited series on Disney Plus.
Oh, absolutely.
Like each episode is a different family that Mary helps.
Mm-hmm.
But like,
Oh, and then you could do a bunch of like fun guest actors and stuff. Like,
yeah,
man, that'd be so cool.
that's money. Disney, hire me.
Uh
Hire
huh.
me, please.
Ben, I think what you need to do is write some spec scripts
Oh
for
man.
the continued adventures of Mary Poppins,
Yo, there's a lot more
and just
books. Like,
show up at the studio.
yeah, because I don't remember the exact details of Walt Disney and P.L. Travers' deal, but there are a lot of those Mary Poppins books, right?
I actually have no idea, but I
Ah,
believe it.
well, I highly recommend that you watch the movie Saving Mr. Banks, because
That's true. I've not seen the movie. I should.
I know a lot of people give it flack for, romanticizing this story, but I like the movie. I like Tom Hanks as Walt Disney.
Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is such a national treasure. I can't imagine him doing a bad job as Disney.
Right? Yeah, no, he's great. And
Which I get is part of the argument. People being like, yeah, but everybody loves Tom Hanks and we should be mad at Walt Disney.
right.
So Tom Hanks playing Walt Disney is a problem because we all
Mm,
like him too much.
yeah, I was talking about propaganda earlier about Tom Cruise's character, but hey, who else does propaganda like Disney, right?
Yeah, no, yeah.
But I mean, like Tom Hanks and Emma Thompson in a movie, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Even
Mm-hmm.
even Colin Farrell was good in that movie. And I don't mean that to say like, oh, even Colin Farrell's a good actor. No,
I
he's a
was
very
gonna
good
say,
actor.
man, shots fired.
No, but he has like such a small role compared to the two of them in that movie, and he still manages to shine.
Nice.
His parts in the movie are almost the heart of Saving Mr. Banks. But it's so funny how he got on Saving Mr. Banks from Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah. The train just keeps on it going.
It's true.
Getting back to the movie, I
Right.
was curious your thoughts on this because it's such a sci-fi trope. But this was yet another movie where the aliens invade our planet and we're like, aliens, they're taking over the place. They're just like a virus. And it bugs me as almost like a lazy option that we continually fall back to viruses as the like primary metaphor for alien invasions. And I'm
Yeah.
curious what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, that's a really interesting point. And especially when it's a villain that they can't understand. So
Mhm.
there's no talking about it. No, there's no talking it over. And it's, I feel it's when you frame it like that now, it's like, oh man, look at the things that we just went through going through viruses. But like viruses have been around
Mhm.
forever. So I mean, if they were making it a metaphor for a virus, it totally could have been a thing. But like, um, but I feel like the thing about Edge of Tomorrow is that even though it has the potential and the opportunity to dig very deep into a lot of things that are brought up in here, I think just for what's on the screen, it's fun, you know? And I think because it's fun, it kind of masks a lot of those things like the commentary on the military and
Mhm.
the alien invasion and like fate, like all of these
Right.
huge themes. I feel like are easily digestible when the movie is actually fun.
Right.
And not
Well, and I
enough
think
movies
it's
do that anymore. Like either one thing is heavier than the other that outweighs the fun, so it kind of like kills the vibe.
yeah, yeah. And I think it's telling with this one especially that the aliens in question do not get over explained. We only get enough explaining of the aliens to give us the problem that our characters are facing. Like, okay, this is this kind of alien, this is this kind of alien. You got to kill that kind, but that kind, if you kill that kind, it resets the whole thing, and that's the one you're connected with. Cool. That's all we need to know. And then there's this other one. That's your objective. Cool. Great. But at no point do we actually explain, like, how does their physiology work? Where are they from? What's their deal? What do they want? We don't know what they want still at the end of the movie. And most importantly, are they like robots? Are they like, how is it that killing the one deactivates every single other one physically if it's
Yeah.
not like, and I get that it's like a hive mind or whatever, but that's never, they don't over explain it.
Yeah, it's
to
not
the
like
point where
it's not like they're the Borg where you have some backstory about it.
Mhm.
You know, they just expect you to accept it and suspend disbelief in that instance. And I think if and when a sequel actually does get off the ground, your questions will play more into it than it did in this first one.
Probably.
Because now they have like all of these dead mimics, right? Like, because they at the end they were just like, oh yeah, for some reason the enemy just gave up and stopped fighting. And to me that sounded like, oh, they're just dead bodies everywhere of mimics. So almost like the Battle of New York in the MCU, you just have all these things lying around just waiting to be dissected.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think almost like Pacific Rim, you know, where they're using things like for things they shouldn't be using them for.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think it could almost get to those kinds of levels.
Yeah, I do wonder if if they did do a sequel, is it going to be about humans trying to use alien tech? That makes sense, I think.
Because
if I'm understanding what you're pitching.
Yes, no, absolutely. Because how else would you reintroduce the time travel dynamic, right? Because
they did drop in the movie that there are probably thousands more of those asteroids floating around.
Exactly.
So
yes.
you could do, okay, well, now there are 2 asteroids, so there are even more of them, or, you know, whatever, or maybe they parallel time jump or something, or you know, we've come a long way in pop culture time travel in the mainstream.
Yeah.
You know, now the average moviegoer understands the multiverse more than they ever have before.
Right.
So
whether
if
they
you
like
were
it or
gonna
not.
screw around, yeah. So if you were gonna screw around with like alternate timelines or, you know, whatever, the ground has never been more fertile for that sort of thing.
Right. Like maybe one of the potential timelines in which Cage, you know, died, one of those timelines could figure a way to get back to the original one, you know.
That'd be cool.
I have trouble talking about stuff like that now because of Loki, because I'm always just like, oh yeah, you know, the sacred timeline and, you know, a branch coming back to the and only like half the people know what I'm talking about. So
yeah. I like that every time travel movie now has the opportunity to define their own rules because of there being so much out there. And there being a common point of reference for you to go from, to expect the audience to have. But at the same time, that is probably very limiting as a scriptwriter in other ways.
Yeah, because, you know, we can't completely depend on Back to the Future to define all the rules, right? Back to the Future's done a whole lot of heavy lifting over the years.
It has gotten name checked like 6 or 7 times just in the last few years of Marvel films.
It's true. Hey, you know that really old movie?
Yeah, right.
All right, well,
I did want to very briefly, just for kicks, point out that Tom Cruise can't make it an entire film without getting on a motorcycle.
Oh my god. So true. But then also in this one, a motorcycle and a helicopter?
And a helicopter, yeah.
Like, dude.
Tom Cruise gonna Tom Cruise.
That's true. That's always, even all the way back to Risky Business.
But you were about to take us home, so go for it.
Right, yeah. So Ansel, would you say that Edge of Tomorrow is worth your time?
Absolutely. I enjoyed the hell out of this movie. When I first watched it, I enjoyed it again now. It had been long enough that I'd kind of forgotten a lot of the details. And so I still came in with more or less fresh eyes. And yeah, just super fun film. Good time. You can do what I did and have to go do your laundry and make dinner in between watching it, and you won't get lost. So yeah, delightful time. We're well worth it. And it's on
Absolutely.
Hulu.
Oh, it is.
Mm-hmm.
I watched it on Max.
Oh, there you go. I think I saw it was on Netflix as well. So it
there you
seems to
go.
be very accessible.
Plenty of opportunities to watch it, which is great because I also agree that this is the type of blockbuster that you should be seeing on the big screen. Like so much going on, a ton of action, a lot of fun. Kind of funny a little bit, and it doesn't take itself too seriously.
I bet this would have been dope in IMAX 3D.
Oh, absolutely. I may have even seen it in IMAX 3D, and I'm just not remembering. But some of the movies just blend together sometimes. It's
Yeah.
There's been so many.
I only go to IMAX 3D for explosions, so any movie with explosions, I'm like, yeah, I might have. It's very plausible that was where I saw it.
That's definitely the way to do it. But yes, Edge of Tomorrow, very fun, very good.
2 thumbs up.
Yeah, two mimic tendrils way up. I'm like, they don't have fingers, but
yeah, I know they have this stabby tentacles. 2 stabby tentacles way up.
Yeah. Well, we'll be back next week with another episode talking about Edge of Tomorrow, where we bring you some edutainment. You know the deal. We've been doing this long enough, right? You get the point. It's a little bit,
Yeah.
you know the hand motion that comes along with saying edutainment.
Yeah.
But yeah, while you're anxiously awaiting that, you can find us on the internet. I'm at bsilverio20 on Instagram, Twitter, not Twitch, maybe Twitch. But
Why
I meant
not?
to say Threads, and Blue Sky.
I am at Indecisionist on Twitter and at The Indecisionist on all of the meta properties, along with Blue Sky. Come find me there. This has been an Indecisionist production. Special thanks to April Moralba for our podcast art and to Marlon Longid of Marlon and the Shakes for our amazing theme song.
You can join in the conversation by using the hashtag #TimeToParty. That's time the number 2 party.
Or time the number 2 party, all spelled out. Thanks to Warwick.
Yeah, and we're never calling it X, by the way. Yeah, and while we continue to misname Elon Musk's social media, we will also want to remind you to be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes.
Yeah.